sure don't know. Is it on there?
The link is, he emailed it to Sharon, but I don't see it posted. So
Well, you gotta go with what you do.
Okay.
And I let her go. I might have a coach. I might have two coaches. We do ahead of time.
Okay.
Before that, then we've got to.
Okay.
I want to place. Where you are on the scale isn't really what you're making in a lot of cases, because you're getting like an extra $5,000 for this, $6,000 for that, $10,000 for this. Like it's the.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order our June 18th, 2024 Matthews County School Board regular monthly meeting. Item 1.2, would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Dobson, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1.3, Ms. Morgan, will you call the roll, please?
Present.
I'm here.
Here.
Present. Item 1.4, approval of agenda additions and deletions. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the agenda as listed.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Agenda is approved. Item 1.5, approval of the minutes from the May 21st, 2024 regular monthly meeting and the May 28th, 2024 special meeting. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the May 21st regular meeting and the May 28th special meeting as written.
Second?
Second. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 1.6, the Matthews County School Board Governance Norms and Protocols. We are going to, as usual, review 2 of the points on this document. Ms. Diggs, would you be so kind?
Yes. Obtaining information about board meeting agenda items before the meeting. The board members will contact the superintendent prior to the meeting with any question on agenda items that require additional information. When board members are absent from meetings, the chair or vice chair will inform any board members who are absent about what took place at the meeting.
Good, thank you very much. Item number 2, presentation of retirement awards. Right.
Actually, I'm going to use the microphone for a second, so I'll sit down. Sorry. So this is a little bit of our change of protocol in years past. Our retirees were recognized kind of at the last day of school luncheon, along with kind of school-based awards and things along those lines. It presented a challenge for family members who wanted to be present while we were recognizing our retirees. And so we got a little bit of feedback from that, positive, and like, hey, can we find a better way to schedule it so that family members and other kind of staff members could be in attendance to participate. So we've moved it to our school board meeting to make sure that it's an open invitation for our honorees to be able to invite whoever they want to get the recognition from the school board and also from members of the community and folks that they've worked so hard with. So with that, now we'll get started honoring those folks. I'm going to try to talk loud enough so everyone can hear me. So at the beginning of each day, each school day, our bus drivers go around and they pick up students. And so it is with a smile. It is how every one of our kids, or most of our kids, are able to start the day with Matthews County Public Schools. And so it is like we try to hire the best absolute people to come in, to drive our buses, to deliver our kids safely each and every day, and to get those students back home. So if Mr. Dickie Brooks, Mr. Richard Brooks can come up, please. Brooks has been driving buses for us for 6 years. It's been a fantastic. 7? Okay, for 7 years. So I appreciate all your efforts. Now I'm actually come back up again because we're going to get a picture in a minute. Okay. All right. Another critical function to the school system is making sure that our students are well fed and they're receiving hot meals. That's breakfast, that's lunch, that's snacks when they need it. It's a smiling face when kids are walking through the cafeteria lines. It's making sure that our kids aren't going without. And so Ms. Bean has done that for me. Let me double check. That's 19 years working in a hot kitchen, making sure that our kids See, it gets tougher as we get down the line here. Okay. So, if you've never spent a lot of time in middle school, then you're a lucky soul. But if you can spend time in a middle school and do it with a smile and have the love for middle school kids, because we've had kids and you're kind of thankful when they move through middle school. But if you can spend that time in working in the middle school, day in, day out, and be a dedicated educator for 33 years like Ms. Crystal Coleman has,
now up to item 3 with student recognitions. First, we'll have spring sports come up with Coach O'Neill, MHS Athletic Director.
Good afternoon, everybody. All right, so spring was very, very busy this year, as it is all the time. Wanted to start off by acknowledging, we had so many things going on, so what I did was I put the accolades of what we did at the end of the year, because we did region and state and those kind of things. You'd be here all night if I listed everything that we've accomplished, so it's a really good thing really good problem to have. Baseball, this is our baseball teams, our varsity and JV teams, our coaches, Wes Griffith and Zach Jaros. And like I said, I'm going to all district and all region honors. I'd like to call out Timothy Dahue, third base, Noah Wright, outfielder, Justin Jones, pitcher, Colin Moore, second base. We're very proud of them for this distinguished honor. It takes a lot to be nominated for these positions. All region, first team, Noah Wright, outfielder, and second team, Timothy Dahue. So if I could get a round of applause for those guys, because they did a really fantastic job. Our crew team did exceptionally well this year. We're very small but mighty, and they didn't get a lot of attention, and some of that was on me because I'm not used to having a crew team to promote. And but they are fantastic. If you ever want to see kids work really hard, go watch a crew regatta, because it's outstanding. I want to say that they became Virginia State medalists. Our boys, Bradley Murphy, Jackson McDonald, Ray Hudgens, and Sam Tomcanny. The girls' doubles were Sydney Collar and Scarlett Johnson. And this, again, was a fantastic race. It was just amazing. So please give them a round of applause. Then we went to nationals, and we tried to put it on Facebook. I'm not great at that, so if you've seen it, it's not that wonderful. But we did have a watch party in Mr. Tom Candy's class and the state meet. Nationals, the boys quad finished 6th. Bradley Murphy, Jackson McDonald, Ray Hudgens, and Sam Tomcanny. The girls' doubles were in 4th place. Now, this is national, so that's a really big deal. Sydney Collar, Scarlett Johnson. Please give them a round of applause.
Fantastic.
I might add, right now we are looking for a crew coach, so if anybody has crew experience and wants to join this amazing team, please let me know, or the Matthews Rowing Association. Soccer did tremendously well this year in both the girls and the boys. This is our 2nd year for the girls, and apparently I wasn't here last year obviously, but they apparently grew leaps and bounds, so we're very, very proud of them. Our boys, we have all the systems in place for both teams to really do something fantastic in the near future. So again, we're very proud of them. So the honors we have, all district. First team, Fabian Cardenas, midfield. Andrew Grieve, defense. Second team, Sal Cardenas, forward. Seth James, midfield. And Franklin Cardenas, defense. Could I get a round of applause for them, please? All region, second team, Fabian Cardenas, midfield. And our girls, this is extremely impressive to me because this is our 2nd year in existence, and they're making a splash already. So all district, first team, Adele Hudgens. Second team, Bailey Bell, defense. Zoe Camp, midfield. Trinity Reynolds, goalkeeper. In softball, we had a really great team here, and they struggled some, but they really came ahead on a lot of things that we thought maybe they shouldn't. So it was like a learning year, but yet a really great year too. Like I said before in my presentations, not all the time is winning and losing the goal. I mean, obviously that's your goal to be out there, but it's to improve, and they improved tremendously. So in our honors, we have second team all district, Christiana Wood as pitcher, and second team Angel Schultz, pitcher. Tennis is, they did a fabulous job. Again, they're not a very big team. They made it to the state quarterfinals and then to the finals. So they've never made it to they've never won the state quarterfinals, and we beat Buffalo Gap, which is a huge deal. So I'm very proud of them for that. Well, there's what I put right there. And they did advance to the semifinals, lost to RAP, but again, better than they've ever done before, and we're extremely proud of them. Boys and girls outdoor track and field. Could I have Donovan Forrest come up here, please, and Coach Forrest? You didn't know you were coming up here, did you? I just want to tell you how extremely proud. I might get a little emotional because when kids work really hard, it makes my heart happy. Donovan, in the state, he's our state champion, which you guys know. I put it everywhere. So could we please get a round of applause for that? Donovan beat his PR. It was 14.72, correct? Faster than, obviously, than he'd ever done before. Right. It was extremely well-run race, and we couldn't be more prouder. Then he went to nationals, and nationals is a big deal because you're obviously, it's kids from all over the nation. Donovan was in his heat. He finished first in his heat, which, what was the time? 1472. Oh, it's 1503 for states. I'm sorry. Okay, and then which means there are how many heats in the nationals?
Probably
I think
12.
10 or 12 heats, and the top of those heats make it to the finals. Top eight. He made it to the finals, which is so impressive. Donovan is an 11th grader, and we have a whole nother year with him. So imagine that.
Great. That is awesome.
I want to tell you that you're looking at a 7th place national athlete right here, and I'm very proud of him.
Very amazing.
Next year we're going to win it, right? Next year we're going to win it. Yes, sir. State rings have been ordered for both Coach and for Donovan, so they will be in soon, and we are just extremely proud to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
So, track records. Okay, first of all, our 4x800 broke a school record, so that was fantastic at state. Donovan, obviously, is our state champion. I can't say that enough. Our girls team with 5th place in our triple jump. No, I'm sorry. The girls team, Nora Southard, placed 5th in triple jump. First place, Donovan Forrest in the 110-meter hurdles. He placed 2nd in the 100-meter dash, so he'll place first in that next year. Second place, 4x800, was Seth James, Andrew Grieve, Gavin Dustin, Keith Taylor. 5th place in long jump, Keith Taylor. 5th place, 4x4, Gavin Dustin, Seth James, Andrew Grieve, Keith Taylor. 6th place, triple jump, Keith Taylor. 6th place, 800-meter, Gavin Dustin. 7th place, 2-mile, Chance Higginbotham. And 8th place, 300 hurdles, Donovan Forrest. What's impressive about this is you're looking at the top 1st through 8th in the state, which is so impressive. Please give them a round of applause.
Absolutely. Amazing.
I just had a couple of things I wanted to highlight, and I'll be finished. We did our Hall of Fame, our 2024 class. We inducted them this year. It was a fabulous ceremony, and we're very excited to have these guys enter the new class.
Yes. Nice.
We have the most amazing cafeteria staff. If you guys have watched Facebook, you will see that They want to prepare meals for them everywhere they go, and they have really added a lot to the school, like the team environment, because whatever they do in success, they will share it in the cafeteria. They did a grand slam for Jordan Cosby because he hit a grand slam. They'll do different state champion things and free cookies for everybody because the tennis team won, those kind of things. And I'm just really happy that they're part of our team.
Great.
We had senior night, and the reason I am highlighting this because senior night for a lot of these athletes got rained out. It was our soccer game, our last soccer game with Middlesex. So we ended up doing it at the soccer banquet, and it ended up going very well. We just wanted to highlight our seniors and thank them for their hard work for us. And again, I want to thank everybody on there, the community, the school board, Dr. Daniel, Ms. Hunley. I can't name them all, but it takes a village, and I'm so glad that our village is here. So thank you so much.
Great job, Coach. So impressive. We're on item 3.2 now, Family Career and Community Leaders of America Award winners with Mrs. Michelle Williams, FCCLA Advisor.
Thank you, board members and community members. In our second year of FCCLA, and for those of you who don't know what FCCLA stands for, that's Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. And it is the career and technical service organization that supports family and consumer science classes in the state of Virginia and across the nation. So this year, our second trip to state convention in Virginia Beach was in April. I took 12 students this year. 4 were what we call star attendants, and they're the room attendants that escort the competitors in and out and run errands for the evaluators and all of that. And we had 8 students this year that competed in 4 different events. And as I call out their event, I'm going to have each one of those groups stand. And it is June, and it is beautiful sunshiny weather outside, and all 8 of my competitors at a text message request are here dressed in their red shirts. So I'm super proud of them. So I'm going to start with one of our first service projects I presented to some of the board members, I want to say it was back in February, was Beanie Rowe and Abby Henry, if you ladies could stand. These 2 ladies undertook a service project called, help me? Sensory Support Backpacks. And these are clear backpacks that they put all different kinds of noise-canceling headphones and all different things in there for children who are either on the autism spectrum or suffer from severe anxiety, who are in a family crisis situation. They filled the backpacks. We donated 1 to each police cruiser here in Matthews County for each of our officers to have, like if they're called to a domestic situation or a car accident or something like that, so that they will have a way to communicate with these children on a different level. And then we also donated 6 more to the Community Services Board, and those are in the local hospitals for children who are awaiting placement in a care facility. And these 2 young ladies prepared the backpacks with a group of our other students and presented them, prepared their poster board and an oral presentation, and they came back with a silver award at the state.
Wonderful.
So I'd give them a round of applause. Please.
Wonderful.
And the next service project that we did is Weighted Angels. And Weighted Angels is another very important near and dear organization to my heart. It is for parents who have suffered infant loss. And these young ladies have a team, and we get together once in August and once in March, and we go to what are called stuffing parties, where we take a small stuffed animal and we take the stuffing out, we fill it with weights, and then when a parent is suffering infant loss in a hospital, they are given this swaddled stuffed animal so they have something to carry home. They don't have to go home empty-handed. And the 3 ladies that did that service project this year are Alex Walker, Brianna Thomas, and Shaylin Deese. And so that she doesn't get upset, Maya Schrader was also an integral part of every one of those meetings, but she had a different service project, or different project. But these three ladies also came back with a silver award.
Awesome.
So thank you, ladies.
Wonderful. Great. Oh my gosh.
The third project that we had actually was presented to you at, I believe, the March school board meeting right before we went to state conference, and that was Promote and Publicize FCCLA by Louis Bircher and Maya Schrader, if y'all could stand. These folks hit it out of the park with promoting and publicizing. They created a rough draft of a booster organization that we could promote the Family and Consumer Sciences and FCCLA as a whole for the high school and the middle school parents and community. We already have a huge outpouring of support for my program especially, but we'd like to expand that and get that for the high school FCCLA as well. And they missed bringing home a gold medal by 3 points. 3 points. So these guys took a silver award, and Maya is hopeful that when she graduates from college, she's going to take my job when I retire.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
So I'm gearing her up. So thank you, guys. They also came back with a silver award. Then last but not least, I have been a fundraising fool for the last couple of months. This young lady, I can't speak enough and I'll keep it brief, but this young lady came to me when I said, when we go to states, there's a formal black tie gala event. And she immediately rushes to me, I want to make my outfit. Well, Miss Williams almost had a heart attack because Miss Williams doesn't do garment sewing. I do sew, but not garments. But I said, well, go in the closet and see what's been donated and let's see what we can put together. And Lily Moore took 3 different patterns and some donated fabric and materials, and we worked together over spring break and after school. She would go to cheer practice, leave cheer practice, come to me and work for 45 minutes, and then race down the street to her dance class every day for 36 plus hours working on that project. And this young lady made a 4-piece formal ensemble that brought back a gold medal at the state level. Missing a perfect score by 2 points out of 100. And the reason these 2 ladies are dressed differently is Maya and Lily are going with me, with the board's approval, I hope, to the national conference in Seattle, Washington, and we fly out next Friday. So
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your support.
Amazing.
And actually,
Ms. Williams, could you stand up? Okay. So I think Ms. Williams also deserves a round of applause because the Virginia Association for Teachers of Family and Consumer Sciences has named her the recipient of the 2024 Outstanding New Teacher of the Year Award.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well deserved, obviously. Fantastic, amazing students. Oh my gosh, this is fantastic. Whew. We're up to number 4, student achievement. Ms. Hudgens, Coordinator of Gifted and Federal Programs, if you could speak to us on ELL, please. English Language Learners.
Good evening. I'm guessing that some of you are very desperate to leave, so you're not going to bother me if you're ready to go home. I want to tell you about the Title III program. The Title III program is the federal overarching umbrella for the L students. I had a request. Dr. Daniel will not let me retire until I finish doing a few things, so for these last few days, I'm going to finish up with a bang. Our Title III program, the purpose of the Title III program is to improve the education of English language learners. We are tasked from the OCR and the state and the federal government to make sure that these English learners get a proper education. So we have a strong department for that. Currently, we have 13 active students, and then we have 9 monitor students. Our students speak Spanish and Swahili, and they're spread out in grades K through 10. So they're all over the district. A monitor student is a student that has achieved proficiency, and I'll discuss that right here. With the WIDA test, which is the access for L's, the students have to get a 4.4 to show English proficiency, and then once they reach that benchmark, they are exited from the program, from the active program, and put into a monitor program. And that monitor program lasts for 4 years with a little more intensive support the first 2 years, and they step back the third and fourth year. Growth is measured when you compare this year's score to last year's score. So to give you some information on where our students stand, if you look at the assessment year, you'll notice that they don't go in order because of the 2020 split. That test didn't count. It wasn't required. We gave it to our students because we gave it right before we went home. But those are the targets from the state that you have to show progress. The first year they had a baseline of 44. The next year, which was in 2017, we had to get 46, we got 50. In 2018, we had to get a 48, we had 87.5. And you can see where the targets are. 50, we had 67, 52, we had 75, and the fifth year target, which was this year, was 54, and we got a 69. So every year we're well above the target score that the state requires to show growth for federal accountability. Our service model, we have language action plans that give goals specific to each child, and it is determined by their scores on the WIDA test. We have 2 different models that we use. One is an ELD, in which small groups of students or individual students are brought out and they work on their specific language skills. And then we have some students that go through content classes with integrated support, so they stay in their regular classes all day, but our L teacher goes in and supports through the regular class. So we have students in both programs. Every quarter, there are progress reports sent out on telling you the progress on the language goals, and then the content teachers for those monitor students that I talked about in the 4 years, the content teachers also send progress reports that are more specific than just a report card. We also have WIDA access scores that are explained to the parents and the teachers, and then we have check-ins with Read 180 and System 44. Our parent and family engagement is very strong. We have these language action plans. We are also very involved in IEP meetings because we have quite a few students who are dual identified L and special education. We offer translation and interpretation services, and this is growing by leaps and bounds. We are blessed with a wonderful translator, and she is always available. Probably too much, but she is always available. We have bilingual books for checkout. The students can come and check out a book, and it's part in English, part in Spanish, and they are able to read with their parents. And we also have tablets that have some bilingual apps on them that the students can check out and take home. On Fridays, our wonderful L teacher, Mary Beth Burrows, meets with different teachers that have L clusters, either in person or she emails them, and they set a plan for the upcoming week, and she finds resources for them, sees what the kids need, what they're doing. She shares resources with everybody all the time, and then she also creates looms, which are like little videos for training. The funding, our priorities are the translator, to get classroom materials, professional development, and also to build our parent-family engagement. In 2022, the state gave us a whopping $1,700, and in 2023, we went down by about $30. It's going to go down even more next year just because of enrollment. As our numbers of L's rise, I'm hoping it'll offset a little bit because, with students in 11 different grades at 11 different levels, we need much more support, and a lot of our parents do not speak English. I think that's it for me, right? Isn't that my last one? I don't know if you have any questions. There's just a very quick rundown of L's and the services that we provide. Any questions?
When you're translator, are they going to be the language that the child speaks?
They speak Spanish and most of our students are Spanish speaking.
Let's say it's not Spanish, say you got a Chinese child.
Then we have Language Live, I think is the name of it. Language Live, which is a service that we are subscribed to, and then we can get a translator online with that, because it would be so difficult to predict where children might come from. So it would be hard to find translators for
Right, I
every
understand that,
possible
but with the
language.
influx of immigrants right now in this country, it's very possible we're gonna have a bunch of them show up sooner or later. And $1,762.35 don't go too
Right, yeah.
far. And that's strictly by the state,
That's the federal money, the Title
that's
III
federal
funding.
money. Is there any state money involved?
I couldn't tell you. I'm sure there's some somewhere.
All right.
But that's our federal allotment for Title III. And the only reason it's that amount is because we belong to a consortium for small divisions, and they give us 1,000 right off the top. So without that, we would get $700.
One more question.
Sure.
Do you help the parents? Because I know there's some after-school programs that will teach adults to help their kids.
Most of our parents at this time just want help with daily maneuvering of school. They ask for things like, what do I do if I have a note for my child and it's in Spanish and no one there can read it? Or what do I do if I've had an emergency and I need to call the school? That's mostly what they've been asking for. As far as other resources, they've had other outlets we've offered. We connect them if they need to with social services or the library for some language classes, but we're always, very open to communication, and they tell us what they need.
Thank you.
Anybody?
Any other questions from members? Mrs. Hodges?
I just want to make sure, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding. We receive a whopping, as you said, $1,700, and that's the only monies we receive for this program. We might receive some state, but everything else has to come out of the budget, paying the teacher. So it really is a requirement from the federal government that does not have funding attached to it to offset even at a level expenditure.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And our funding is used, we write an application, which is actually currently in your approval docket, that asks for certain things, and we have to align to, the requirements and make sure that the money is used in the correct way. So they're very specific as to what we can and can't use the money for.
Thank you.
Anything else? Sure.
From the state.
You take care of the budget? You work that number?
That number, yes, but then I pass it on.
Okay.
I just decide where it needs to go with a lot of input
That's
from
fine,
other
but
people.
how do you determine the amount of money?
We have a Federal Programs Advisory Committee that meets. I also surveyed all of the parents, the teachers, and got feedback from where they felt like the priorities need to be. And that's where that list of priorities came from, like from greatest to least.
Okay, thank you.
So a bit of a follow-up. So in terms of state funding, we receive about $7,700 in state funding for L's students. And so what Ms. Hudgens was referring to with the advisory committee is determining priorities for how the federal money is then allocated once we receive it. But it's not a competitive grant. There's a formula on the federal level that determines kind of how much federal monies we receive. But we do have a state allocation that's based on enrollment and identification of students in L's programs. And that, again, that number is about $7,700.
Is that part of our lottery money?
I don't know if it's in the lottery, within that lottery program allocation or not. I have to go back and see if it's part of that chunk. It's under SOQ, so no, it's not part of
money,
that.
I don't touch that.
Yeah.
I'm federal.
Yeah, Ms. Hudgens and the federal program coordinators help do the grant application for the Title I, Title II, Title IV, Title this, Title everything. And so it's that attention to detail on those programs is what's really vital and what Pam has done a fantastic job with.
6 more days, though.
Who's replacing her?
We don't have that filled yet.
Don't have that filled yet.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Ms. Hudgens, I have a question for you regarding the tablets with bilingual apps. Can you just give a little, just a functional description of what that means? So the child's walking around with the tablet and accessing an app that, how does that go, how does that look?
We have two different uses for tablets. The ones that I was referring to are ones that we purchased at the end of 2 years ago. And we downloaded some apps that in their native language to have the bilingual books be active on the tablet, but it gave them a lot more access to books and things like that. There's also practice exercises on there that they can, at a very rudimentary level, but there are practice exercises that they can practice English on, and we preset every one of those tablets. Nothing can be added, or, you know, they can't go on YouTube or anything. It's all preset with apps that we chose. And then we have a few new students right now that are using translators, and they're using iPads, and they came to us 6 weeks before the end of the school year, and only speak Spanish. Yes,
The students,
and
okay.
so we've been doing translating through the apps so that the teachers can talk to them. So,
Wow.
but that's kind of different.
Wow, okay. Tall challenge here. Tall challenge. Thank you.
Thank you.
On number 5, citizens' questions, comments, or requests. Comments not pertaining to personnel or student matters. Protocol for public comment period. Citizens wishing to speak should sign up with their name and address on the sheet provided. Each individual will have 3 minutes to speak. All comments should be directed to the school board. Speakers shall not address matters involving students or personnel, as these topics may violate confidentiality and are not appropriate in a public forum. Public comment is the school board's opportunity to listen to the speaker. Since our purpose is to hear from you, the board will not engage in dialogue with the audience or whomever is at the podium. Matters requiring a response will be directed to the superintendent for research and response. The superintendent may report back on such matters at a subsequent business meeting session as appropriate. The school board carefully considers your comments when deciding on matters brought before us. We appreciate your attendance and your input. Do we have anybody who's signed up, Mrs. Morgan, Ms. Morgan? Anybody who would like to speak at the podium tonight?
Good evening. My name is Judy Rowe. I live at 76 Old Spirit Branch, Gwynn, Virginia. And I came to congratulate you. Last month after your meeting, I got an email or text from Linda Hodges saying that you all had gone live last month and been broadcast online. Congratulations. You have made it into the digital world. I am so thrilled. One of my passions is to make public meetings truly public through our efforts with broadband and to make it available to all of our citizens. Mr. Dobson, at the town hall meeting, you were the one who said, people out there don't know what we're doing. And this makes it so much more possible now for them to watch from home and be able to understand what is going on in our schools. So again, congratulations from the Broadband Advisory Board. We are thrilled. And I have another note that I want to congratulate, and I believe is he still here? Or did he leave? Oh, Randy Applegate. Oh, there, huh?
He was here for a long time. He's gone now.
Oh my goodness, okay. Well, anyway, Randy Applegate has a program at the high school, and I've mentioned it before to you. The video lab that he has is absolutely extraordinary. Before COVID and before the pandemic, Randy had worked with some of the people in the community, the sheriff, the home health care workers, Buzz Lambert from the Y. It was a number of people that we had done stories about their lack of access to broadband and what it was doing to their jobs and everything that they were doing. And I guess we were on about number 6 or 7 of we call them broadband moments. It was Nancy Welch's idea, And it was a great idea to do 3-minute videos of people talking about what was really going on in the county. And we were getting ready to do the next one when the pandemic closed everything down. So now, a few years later, we're having some success stories. So Randy has been videoing. We've got 2 videos coming out Thursday night at the Board of Supervisors meeting. So if you don't see them there, I'll send you the link so you can watch them later on. But they're terrific, and I want to also recognize the 2 students that he has that have been working on them. Timmy Dahu is the video engineer, and Shane Norris was the sound engineer. Oh, there he is. I'm talking about you. But I'm so thrilled to be able to show the Board of Supervisors and the public what our students are doing and what they can do for Matthews County, because this is extraordinary. And the 2 stories are just absolutely classic for this one. So come out and watch. If you don't, I'll send you the link. But thank you. And thank you, Mr. Applegate, for everything you've done.
Thank you, Ms. Rowe. Good job.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Mike Walls, Hudgens, Virginia. First thing I want to do is thank you for being good stewards of the taxpayers' money this year. But with that being said, I'm going to draw your attention back to a meeting that we had here in Thomas Hunter Middle School back in February, where I was under the assumption that we were going to give our teachers a 5% raise. When the budget come out, that was not the case. The teachers were only getting the 3% raise that the state had sent to them. So this has been an absolute nightmare for budget season for us. I would like to implore you guys, that 6%, I've spoken to a couple of you about the 5% and the step. That's fine, however you choose to do it. But this year, that 6% raise has got to go to the teachers. Our educators deserve that. So I would implore you to get that done. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Mr. Walls. Do we have anybody else who'd like to approach? Board members, do you have any comments?
Yes, I have a comment. In the last couple of years, this board has cut the budget by about $2.4 million. The board didn't always make the final say. It was taken out of our hands and reallocated the way it was. So I want you to know it's not the board. We voted to give you pay raises 3 years in a row, and 3 years in a row, the raise was finally taken out of our hand at the end of the budget and rearranged, and we didn't know until we heard the teachers complain they didn't get the pay. So the board here, we want to work together. We want to see that teachers are done right. I'm tight-minded on money, but the point is right now, if we don't get our teachers a pay raise of a little bit of proportion, we're going to fall way behind the curve on the rest of the schools in this area, which means we're going to be in trouble because everybody's going to be leaving here going somewhere else. And that's the one thing I don't want to see happen. Since I've been here, I've seen several of our teachers that had long years here that I knew some of them, and they were very good teachers. Ms. Hudgens is going to be leaving us, and I think that'll be a void that'll be hard to fill. So we need to keep our people here and not lose the ones that we really need. And that's all I have to say.
I just want to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Grieve, Dr. Daniel for the graduation and all those who had a hand in it. I've always said Matthews Schools does an excellent job in graduation. That just gets better each year. It's really a moment of pride for me as a board member and previously as a staff member. It just was an excellent morning, and I just want to acknowledge, and that may have been acknowledged before I got here, and so I apologize for that. But thank you to everyone who had a hand in the graduation.
Else? All right, thank you. We're up to item 6, Superintendent's Informational Reports, starting with the budget update.
Good evening, everyone. I feel like this is probably the 5th budget presentation that I've done. So this is kind of a reaction to additional allocations from the county coming to the school division after their most recent process in approving the county budget. So to back up a little bit, so we're currently coming to the very end of FY24. So in February of 23-ish, the budget process was trying to be finalized a bit within the school system to approve a budget from the school division, handing that over to the county. So at that time, the school division was looking at an enrollment of 875 students. So if that number had have held, well, let me back up. So we were operating off of a budget or a plan for 875 students. The other thing that was happening in 23 was the General Assembly had a long delayed caboose bill, so we didn't actually get the funding for the state budget until September of 23. So had we continued to have the enrollment of 875 students, once that budget was passed, we would have seen state funding numbers at $6.9 million. Okay, that didn't happen. So our enrollment then for this budget year, we operated most of the year, early in the year, around 800 students. So based on the September calculation tool, which is a reflection of the approved General Assembly's budget in September, we then had $6.4 million in state funding to work with. Unfortunately, one of the things that happens with the state budget is that it then gets adjusted in March based on March enrollment, ongoing kind of sales tax revenue and such. So our enrollment continued to decline, and the budget then didn't bend in our favor. So we ended up in March with a reduced amount of state funding. So for the year, we ended up with just about $6 million in state funding. And I've linked kind of the September calculation tool, the March calculation tool. Those calculation tools are available on the Department of Education website. You can go and find and download those calculation tools. So had we continued with an 875 student enrollment, we would have been operating based on the March calculation tool at $6.5, $6.6 million. So our operating budget kind of over from what we had planned at 875 students to what we ended up with showed a reduction of about $500,000 in revenue, state revenue, during this current fiscal year. So then what we were able to do, we were able to absorb a couple FTEs, full-time equivalent positions, so that made teacher positions, whatever position came available during the year, we asked the question of whether or not we could absorb that position. We utilized remaining ESSER funds to help buoy us during that shortfall. So we worked on rephrasing, reallocating funds for our that ESSER grant, so we could divert those funds to other needs. The county was generous in providing rollover money from FY23 into FY24. That provided a 2% pay increase mid-year for teachers, but there was additional funds that we were able to put into our general operating fund to help cover that shortfall. And part of the issues that, one of our major issues this year has been equipment failures. So we've had several HVAC equipment failures, but we've also had several cafeteria, in our 2 cafeterias, several high-cost equipment failures that we've had to absorb. So that has pushed that particular line item, especially over budget. But we've been able to make it work. So looking at FY25 coming up, so we're projecting an enrollment of 785 students. So again, a much decreased enrollment projection for next year. Again, a reminder that our local composite index now goes up for this 25 budget. So we're going from 0.5162 to 0.5453. That again results in less state funding, not just for enrollment, but our percent per student then decreases from the state. So we're looking at a reduction of an additional $174,000 in projected state funding coming to Matthews. So over the last 2 years, we're talking about $675,000 in reduced funding from the state. Thankfully, the local, or Matthews County, has increased our funding going into next year by about $830,000, and that has been earmarked really for salary increases going forward. So what this budget does, the budget that is before you to again approve tonight, it provides a 5% increase to the salary scale and moves all employees a step along that scale. Each step on our salary scale equates to 1%. So what we are looking to do is increase the scale itself 5% and then move everybody over a step. So they, based on the salary scale, they will get a 6% increase in their pay. Well, we have lots of stipends and supplements that are out there too. So this increase is addressing the scale itself. So I don't want to say everybody's getting an overall 6%. The salary scale is going up and the people on the salary scale will be a 6%, if that makes sense. Okay, another piece to clarify is this isn't 3% on top of the 3% addendum or the 3% contract that was initially sent out. So we've already sent out one contract. So once the board approves, we will begin working on an addendum to reflect an additional increase. But so we're talking 5% plus a step off the salary scale as we ended the last contract. So we're not doing a 3% on top of a 3% on top of a 2%. That makes sense. So as you guys are going in to vote, just to kind of make that clear. This budget also covers health insurance premiums for employees, so additional increase in health premiums the school division has absorbed. We have not passed those on. Again, just some reminders, we're covering increased tuition costs for various regional programs. Their tuition rates have gone up. We're sending additional students to additional student to Chesapeake Bay Governor's School, as we have students in regional special ed programs. We have one more student going to ROTC at Gloucester, just various programs. This budget also is trying to anticipate additional costs for maintenance for budgets and, for our buildings and vehicles, as we anticipate some other equipment failures. This budget, as an overall perspective, results in an increase of 2.09% increase to our general fund budget. So while we've taken hits on state revenue, the county has stepped up to provide some measures to kind of ease those deficits for us. Okay, so how are we trying to, as a citizen said, kind of be good stewards of the county's money? So what we are looking at doing is, so we're collaborating with the county on the energy audit to come on the other side of that energy audit with energy savings and cost-effective strategies to reduce our overall costs annually. I'm in the process of going through vetting 4 different HVAC service proposals and comparing those service contracts, not performance contracts, but preventative maintenance contracts for what those will cost us, trying to find better performance for our HVAC systems at a lower cost. We're reviewing every contract, because kind of June, July is contract season also, so we're getting renewals, so we're evaluating every renewal, looking at the numbers of, so various contracts are based on the number of students, the number of seats, the number of licenses, the number of tests, et cetera, So we're examining all of those numbers to see if we can reduce those costs. We're also absorbing 7 staff positions for next year. Some of those are various, some are teaching, some are in various other kind of salary scales and positions. So those FTE positions right now will save us about $478,000 going into next year. We have several other positions that are still open that we need to fill, and so we need to have some flexibility in the budget as we're looking to kind of fill some of those other vacant positions. We're still reviewing as vacancies come available or pop up. We're kind of reviewing to see, can we absorb that? Can we flex? Can we do other things? And one of the other major strategic moves was moving our 8th grade to the high school, to put kids in front of teachers, to make sure we had our kids where the teachers were. So that's kind of a system shift to work on putting kids in front of teachers, increasing class size a little bit. And I can add some highlights when we talk about kind of the middle school move. So those are some highlights on the budget that are in front of you all tonight. Any questions? No.
Yeah. I gave everybody else a chance first. We're going to continue to have this problem until that composite indexes comes up with a new way to figure it out. That's our problem. And also the way lottery funds are determined. That is also part of our problem. Everybody else can go out and come up with source of revenues to take in and pay for things. We don't, because we don't have anything here to get more money out of. You go to Richmond, they can come up with a tax for anything and everything. The state and the Virginia Board of Education has to tackle this problem, because we're not the only one. There's going to be more, but we're going to continue to lose money, and it's still going to cost almost the same to operate. And that's the problem, as I see it. We don't have the source of revenue coming in, and no matter what we do, we're still going to pay almost exactly what we're paying now. So something's got to give. They got to come up with a new way to figure that money out for the state on when they hand it out to the municipalities. So I don't know what you're going to do.
I don't have a crystal ball, so we'll, as situations arise, we'll work on solving them one problem, one challenge at a time.
Dr. Daniel, do you
Yes,
have
ma'am.
any timeline on the HVAC preventative maintenance?
By the end of June.
End of June. So that will definitely impact our budget.
Yeah,
Positively is what we're assuming.
I anticipate some savings on the contract.
Okay. I did also want to say that I appreciate the county and all of the county entities who collaborated and made hard decisions to give back money so that our schools could have more funding. I want to encourage both boards to have lots of work sessions where we communicate so that we're all on the same page with what's going on. Obviously, what you're talking about here, it's very complicated. There are lots of moving parts, shifting sands. It's like walking on jello with the budget. And I think with additional communication between the boards, we'll have more understanding about how we can best serve our students and ultimately our community.
Agreed.
Yes, Mrs.
I do want to echo Dr. Gibbs's comments about the Board of Supervisors, who really went to the mat for the school division. It was not easy on them, I know, and so I do appreciate that on behalf of our teachers. I think one of the difficulties that we always have is sometimes we don't know till almost the last couple months what General Assembly does. You know, and shifting sand is a perfect word for it because everything is moving. There's lots of moving parts that, from my perspective, you can't predict at the outset of the budget season. And so it's very difficult, I think, to your point, Dr. Gibbs, to grasp all these changing concepts and changing numbers almost at every meeting that we have. But we are here, and we're here in great part to the Board of Supervisors who, again, went back and had a special meeting to be able to get to where we are today. So I just want to make sure that they're aware that I think as a board we're most appreciative of that, and certainly the teachers.
Absolutely. Any other comments from members on this point? Okay.
Okay, I think we're...
Attendance update?
Sure.
Yep.
All right, 6.2, attendance updates. So we have continued the positive trend of improving student attendance. Again, that's a positive trend. I think there's still quite some room for improvement, but there's significant reduction in the number of students at all three schools who meet the definition of chronically absent. For the folks in the audience, I don't think it's projected, but a student is chronically absent if they've missed 17 days or more. So for reference, last year at the high school there were 92 students. That has been reduced to 77 this year. Last year at Thomas Hunter, that number was 71. This year it was 49. At the elementary school last year, we had 90 students who missed 17 days or more. This year, that number was reduced to 62. So pretty significant improvements. Amazing work by our school social worker who helps kind of coordinate the efforts, but also the office staff in the three schools for identifying students, working to get notes, making phone calls, but doing everything they can to get students. And I'd be remiss if I also didn't celebrate teachers working and making phone calls to kids and families, trying to get students in their classrooms. Some updates on the 8th grade. I'm sorry, were there any questions on attendance before I move on?
Dr. Daniel, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Did you raise your hand? I didn't want to jump in. Thank you. I'd like to maybe discuss, not maybe, during our July retreat, I would like to discuss and hopefully develop a more, I don't say proactive because there's a lot of work that went into this past year. Maybe some plans that other schools have implemented that have brought more success. This is a great start. We still have more work to do, I believe. So I haven't had a chance yet to research some of that, but I would like to discuss that with my colleagues here during the July retreat.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
A few updates on the 8th grade move. To Ms. Hodges, to your comment on how great the graduation was at Matthews High School. That's because they spend a lot of time preparing and getting graduation ready, so that has been the focus for the last several weeks at Matthews High School, making sure that our seniors are meeting all the requirements, they're crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's for earning diplomas. So their focus had been on seniors, so now they are sort of shifting back to getting ready for welcoming 8th grade. So a couple things that have happened at the high school. They've kind of mapped out room locations with the goal of having those 8th grade classrooms kind of within the same general area within the high school. So those 8th grade classrooms are going to be up front, close to the main office. Along the kind of the math class, geography class, and English classes are kind of along that main hallway, right around kind of the arc of the media center. They have figured out a way to create 3 lunch blocks. So most of the 8th graders will have lunch together. There's a little bit of a hurdle with one of the classes, But for the most part, eighth graders will then have their own kind of separate lunch block. Really what they're working through now is the master schedule. And you know as probably as well as anybody, the more singleton types of classes that you have, the more roadblocks you have to having a fluid master schedule. So folks in the audience, a singleton class would be there is only one section of a particular class that is offered during the master schedule. So having only one section of DE basket weaving and all the rest of the master schedule has to work around DE basket weaving, then that's the thing that tends to drive. So when you have students going to off campus for welding, ROTC, Chesapeake Bay Governor's School, and then lining up dual enrollment classes in different content areas, advanced classes, and you can't have, Spanish, 4 when all of the kids who would take Spanish 4 are at CBGS and stuff like that. So you have a lot of those kind of singleton type classes that create obstacles in building kind of a fluid master schedule. So it becomes a challenge. So the counseling office, the administrators at the high school are kind of working through that now that they can shift their attention. But again, going back to the graduation piece, they have to make sure that they have a master schedule that ensures students are meeting the requirements for their diplomas and they're able to access the credits in the classes and the credentials that they need to kind of get that diploma status. So that's objective number one, and then they kind of move on then to other objectives. So they're working on it. They're optimistic. I check in about once a week. Kind of like Mr. Dobson asked me about lottery funds, I asked kind of where are we on the master schedule at the high school. So keeping it on everybody's radar. All right, any questions about eighth grade move? Nope.
Well, I got the overall budget, but we're still on track, right? For the move?
Yes, we're still on track. We're eighth grade's gonna be at the high school next year.
Well, we haven't run into any stone walls or anything like that, have we?
No, I won't say there's stone walls, but there are some, I would say, boulders in the stream that we're working through to allow progress. So the staff is working through some of the challenges of this move, and I'm sure they would have liked to have had an additional year to plan and map and things, but we needed to take action and take some moves, and so they've rolled up their sleeves and they're embracing the challenge and they're working on it.
This 90-minute block of instruction you keep talking about, is that for the first year or is that going to continue?
So the 90-minute block change will be here at Thomas Hunter. The high school has been on kind of an AB 90-minute block schedule for some time. So what we needed to have happen for a couple reasons, in my opinion, at Thomas Hunter to go to a block schedule. The second of which was to align the schedule with the high school as we're sharing resources from middle school to high school. Really the main driving force in initially moving the middle school to a block schedule was to provide additional time for reading and math instruction. So that was the goal, to increase instructional time in those areas. Good?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, 6.4, summer textbook review. These are not new textbooks. These are kind of the textbooks that we've been using and have been adopted, were approved by the board in years past. So if there's information on the website, information and then in board docs. If you're curious, please contact the schools, make an appointment to then review textbooks, approved textbooks that are in use. Okay, 6.5, some school board information. Probably the biggest piece of that is the gifted local advisory, that local plan. So there is a gifted advisory committee that meets, participates, provides input on the annual local plan for gifted. So that gifted plan is listed there, along with financial reports. Also, another key piece to look at is the division literacy plan. Ms. Hunley so kindly developed an executive summary for that literacy plan, so you don't have to read every line in every text box that Ms. Hunley has spent hours and hours and hours completing and filling out. So you get the executive summary version, but the full version is also available if you want to dig into the document and kind of look at timelines and assessments and where we are with the literacy plan.
And this will be posted on the website, the
Yes.
condensed version?
Yes.
After
We'll,
submitted to the DOE and received confirmation.
right, so we have to submit that to the Department of Education and then receive approval from the Department of Education. And then once it's approved, that final version will then be placed on the website.
I found this condensed version to be very helpful when I was reviewing it.
Maybe I'll post both.
Very well done. But it's not, I'm just praising this. I have yet to see the other, but this really gets down to it. It's very easy to understand, very clear, very well done.
Thank you.
Okay. And I think we're on to 7.
All right. I just wanted to make a comment about 6.4 with the summer textbook review for the citizens and for the board members, just to keep in mind, that's a relatively short period of time. Started Monday, the 17th, goes through the 27th, but we only have Mondays through Thursdays and 8 to noon to sign up for appointments. So keep those timelines in mind, and do call to make appointments for the benefit of the people working at the school, so we don't just, make appointments. All right. All right, we're then up to item 7, school board informational reports. 7.1, you'll see that we have our first review of school board policies. These are the May 2024 updates. This is just for your review. We will be revisiting this at the end of year meeting. And there are approximately 48 policies that have been revised in some capacity, so take some time with those to make sure that we're all in the loop on the meeting on the 27th. Any questions about this? Okay. 7.2, a reminder that the end of year special meeting on Thursday, June 27th, is at 9 a.m. in the high school media center. That is a public meeting, but it is at 9 a.m. It's not at our usual nighttime, so I know that does limit some of our citizens being able to get there, but please feel free if you can to join that. Item 7.3, the school board summer work session, which is Wednesday, July 17th, 9 to 3, Chesapeake Bank Community Room. And we're building the agenda for that now. Item 7.4, school board conferences and webinars, past and future. We have a lot of, thank you, Ms. Morgan, for keeping us straight on what we've taken and what we need to take. And everybody feel free to review all of these, plus other trainings that are available to you by other organizations. Item 7.5, the board and committee reports by school board members and the superintendent. I think what we have here is we have a full listing of those members who are assigned to the Board of Supervisors meetings. I think we are all complete through the end of the year. Please take note of your dates. If there aren't any questions, we'll move on to item 8, action items. We're seeking the approval of the overnight trip for the FCCLA National Leadership and Recognition Conference. Do I have a motion?
I so move to approve this trip as requested by Ms. Williams.
Okay. And just to be specific, it is a trip to Seattle, Washington. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Any discussion?
I just wish I was going with you.
Me too.
It's exciting. This is exciting. With 2 students, it sounds like a
Yes.
very exciting trip.
The whole, it's amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
Well said.
And just so that citizens know that all the funds were raised outside of the board's budget, of the school division's budget. And so not only an amazing teacher, but Ways and Means. Yes. Good job, Ms. Williams. Okay. We have, we're missing a member, but we have quorum, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Item 8.2, adoption of final amended 2024-2025 operating budget. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the final amended 2024-2025 operating budget as listed.
I second it.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, I have one item, one question. Just to be clear, this revised or amended budget, this revised or amended budget provides for giving instructional personnel a 6% overall increase. Am I correct in understanding that it also gives a 6% increase to other school division employees?
It provides a 6% increase in the salary scale for all division employees.
All division employees?
All division employees, yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
Thank you. I just want to be clear.
I would request that the board remain at ease for a moment. Right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 No.
All those opposed?
No.
Motion passes 4-1. Item 8.3, approval of the request for use of school bus and driver from the Matthews Memorial Library. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the request for the use of a school bus and driver from the Matthews Memorial Library as listed.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 8.4, approval of request for use of school bus and driver from Matthews Family YMCA. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve a bus for the YMCA from the school.
And just to note that this is listed as a retroactively, we are retroactively approving this. Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 8.5, the adoption of Matthews County Public Schools Student Code of Conduct for 2024-25. May I have a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the Matthews County Public Schools Student Code of Conduct for 2024-2025 as listed.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Do we have any discussion?
I would well, first of all, a lot of work went into this, and it's well done. And I just want to commend those who had their hand in this. I just was wondering, as we move forward, if maybe we need to each year, and you have to do it before the next school year, so we have a very small window. I just hear what kind of changes based on the previous year, what's gone well, where are some of the challenges, how do we need to tweak this as we move forward?
The goal would be for every June, July meeting to revisit the student code of conduct as policies may change, anything else in changing in terms of law. As we live through this document for a year, I'm sure administrators will provide feedback. My advice to administrators in drafting this was to try to walk through it at the end of the school year with some of the discipline situations that they were having. And so my advice going into this next school year is to keep a copy of it by your desk as you're working with students, and then make notes in it for adjustments to come back this time next year. So I think it is intended to be a living document that the board annually reviews. Do we need to tighten here, loosen there, add a piece, remove a piece, things along those lines. And so, one of the major components of this code of conduct are the state codes that we have to use for discipline offenses. The state updates those, usually not in the same timeline we need them to. And so it wouldn't surprise me if the state in September says, okay, well, there are new discipline codes, and so we're going to have to update the code of conduct anyway. So, they probably won't do it in November because there's a lot of state accountability and reports that are tied to it. But yeah, so I anticipate then this being an annual process that the board will review, vote, approve, et cetera.
I'd like more time to go through this document. Because I see some changes in it that I didn't see before. You have a 5 in it now where there wasn't one before.
A 5?
What does that mean?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, in terms of the levels, the discipline levels?
Right. You now have a 5 in it, which was not in it before.
What the 5 did was it broke apart long-term suspensions. And so I think it has a smaller category for short-term suspensions. So it helped delineate some of the suspension levels.
I'd like to talk about a lot of the numbers in the elementary end of it, because I think the elementary aspect, you're not looking, I see the numbers, and I don't think we're taking into consideration kindergarten, first graders, and second graders. Because you're going to 3s and 4s. And these kids got no idea probably what they're doing. Number one, they don't have the intelligence at that age to know what things mean. They just either repeat or do as they see. And I'm a little concerned about that.
Okay. The only hurdle I see is part of this code of conduct does have a dress code in it, and that's somewhat of a change, because historically kind of each school kind of operated a little bit differently on kind of dress code expectations. So if we're establishing kind of a uniform dress code, that may be different. And as parents, if we wait until July to push that out, parents are already going to be getting kind of back to school shopping, and so I think that needs to be on their radar as they're beginning to buy clothes or receiving presents that may be clothes, things along those lines.
And I would add that, with all due respect, Mr. Dobson, we have had this document for weeks and weeks that we've been able to review it.
I know. I put in a bunch of changes, and I'm still not happy with some of them. And I am more interested in protecting the younger child than I am the older ones. And when you're 16, 17, 18, you know better. So I don't have a problem with the numbers on that. But when you're in the first, second, third grade, I have a problem with some of the numbers of where they're located at.
Dr. Daniel, do we have built-in latitude from building leadership on conduct issues with regard to the consequences? Do we have discretion built in?
There is, and so that's why a range is provided for consequences. So it's suggested range. So that's where an elementary principal is going to look at a student who's, kindergarten, like a preschool, kindergarten, first grade versus a student who's in third or fourth grade. The same with potentially an 8th grade student versus an 11th grade student. So just kind of a quick scan, almost all the K4 offenses have a range of 1 through 3. Level 1 is primarily kind of a classroom intervention sort of process. There may be meetings, things along those lines before you get into the goal in the level 1 is making sure the student is staying in that classroom until you then get all the way to level 5 is an expulsion, you're out for a full calendar year, school board getting involved. So all of those offenses are gonna have ranges. And where you, in the elementary school, where you start touching like a level 4 are some criminal level of things. So again, where you, an elementary, like I think the first one I came
Criminal
across.
intent at the high school level, I don't have a problem with.
Right.
It's the younger folks, and what I'm afraid of, it's gonna be somebody you appoint, it'll either be a principal or somebody the principal appoints, right? And if you get somebody who's got a grudge or wants to prove a point on a young child, I'm just saying it can happen.
Right. The other piece that's pretty well laid out in this code of conduct is the appeal process. So it does articulate how, should there be a question on the decision made by the administrator, the school-based administrator, it articulates what that appeal process would be coming to the school board office to revisit that action.
Who sits on the appeal board?
Right now, me.
Huh?
Me. So it comes to me. It's that we don't have a committee process to kind of review all of that. So there's kind of a way for parents to appeal. And that we've had a couple this year. But again, so to kind of the first offense in kind of reviewing that touches on a level 4 for an elementary school is alcohol, distributing alcohol to other students.
Yeah,
and so there's
I
a
don't
range.
have a problem with that.
Right, but again, for an elementary student, that range is a level 2 to a level 4.
Well, I don't think it should go to a 4.
Right, and that's where it provides the administrator latitude. It doesn't say that the administrator has to make it a level 4 offense. It provides the latitude based on the circumstances as part of their investigation. So the difference in, a 4th grader coming and bringing, I don't want to provide crazy scenarios, but I think grade level differences, is it, the devil is in the detail in all of these discipline situations, and so that's why we're trying to help teachers, parents, administrators have kind of a ballpark, a range for what discipline infraction should be, to also know that this is your 3rd offense at doing that, so we shouldn't still be doing that lowest level of consequence, because you should have been learning from those.
Well,
so it provides a latitude and a range for
I agree
administrators.
with that. It's like I like the 1 through 4. I don't have a problem when I see that. What I have a problem with is when I see 2 or 3 where it starts out. That's the problem I have at the young age. I personally, I saw a vendetta occur in this system, and it was against my son, who cost him perfect attendance for 12 years because the principal wanted to make a point. So I look at things a little different. It can happen. Not gonna say it is, but it can, and I think there should be something in there to protect it.
Okay.
Mrs. Hodges?
I think it's not a perfect document, but I think as I said earlier, it's a great start. And I believe to Dr. Gibbs and Dr. Daniel's point that we have an obligation to approve this. We've had it for at least 2 school board meetings to review. And I believe that if there are inappropriate personal, as you said, vendettas or responses to a child's discipline, that will come to the attention of Dr. Daniel or some other administrator rather quickly, I feel sure. And in the next year, we can just amend it and change it as we need to based on both the objective data that we'll receive with the discipline and also the anecdotal information, and we can adjust it, because I think no matter what we have, there's always going to be something that we don't think, one of us is not going to think that it's quite exactly as it should be. But we have to start somewhere, and I believe we have an obligation to the parents to have, and teachers and administrators, to have something now, and not like what happened last year with the cell phone policy. We were down to the wire with that, and it ended up working out very well, but it was down to the wire, and that's not the way I personally like to do business with school beginning in August. Thank you.
May I ask a question? Dr. Daniel, the parent has the right to question what's going on, to amend something, to ask for that.
So in terms of a student record or in terms of a discipline consequence?
The discipline consequence.
Yes. So at the beginning of the document, it lays out rights and responsibilities,
Right.
student rights and responsibilities, parent rights and responsibilities, and it gets into discipline hearing officer responsibilities. So any, again, you have to provide due process.
Right,
right.
right.
And so as part of that due process, there's an appeal step, right to be heard, right to present
Exactly.
evidence, all those kinds of things. And so then there's the ability to appeal.
But that gives a buffer.
To echo Mrs. Hodges' comments, timeliness contributes to the stability with which our families operate in getting their children ready for school. This document it's comprehensive, but no doubt there will be tweaks next year that we will be informed by this coming year's experiences. We owe it to the families to get this document out. And I also think that it's a huge step forward with setting expectations in the school division. And I appreciate the hard work that Ms. Hunley and Dr. Daniel and others did to put this document together. I think we have a motion on the floor. I think we need to take the vote. Any more discussion?
Madam Chair, I've just been looking over these 5 levels as everyone was talking. I believe that this document provides the administrators, meaning superintendent and/or school board, with enough latitude to make any needed adjustments, and I believe we should vote on it as it is written.
All right, point taken, Mr. Morgan. We will take the vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 4-1. Item 8.6, approval of the 2024-2025 Title I program application. May I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the 2024-2025 Title I program application as written.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Discussion.
Thank you, Mrs. Hudgens.
Yes. Absolutely.
You are getting things done before you leave. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you so much. Right. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 8.7, approval of the 2024-2025 Title III statewide consortium application. May I have a motion?
I move that we approve the Title III statewide consortium application for 2024-2025.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 8.8, approval of the 2024-2025 local consolidated application. And this involves Title II and IV, Titles II and IV. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the 2024-2025 local consolidated application as written.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Item 8.9, naming of the 2024 VSBA Annual Convention official delegate and alternate delegate. And I believe at least a few of us are signed up to go to the convention. I was the delegate
November.
last year.
That's November.
Yes, it is. That is on November 21st in Williamsburg, at the Williamsburg Lodge. The delegate assembly will begin promptly at 2 p.m. You're to check in at 1:30. The conference will have already been ongoing. Is there anybody who is interested in being the delegate this year who hasn't been a delegate before or who would like the opportunity?
I mean, I have been a delegate, but if no one else is interested, I would be willing to serve again. But if someone else not done it and is interested, I certainly would defer to them.
Looks like Mrs. Hodges, we appreciate you being the delegate and I'll be your alternate.
One for the team.
Yes, it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yes, Ms. Morgan. It will be me. Thank you, Ms. Morgan. Item 8.10, approval of authorization of signature in absence of division superintendent. And we'll just read this out. This is to approve the authorization of signature for Leslie R. Hunley, Assistant Superintendent, to sign all Virginia Department of Education reports, documents, requisitions, and other official correspondence in the absence of the division superintendent from July 1st, 2024 until June 30th, 2025. Do we have a motion?
I so move.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 8.11, approval of VSBA Policy Services Agreement for 2024-2025.
Loaded.
Do we have a motion?
I make,
Go ahead.
you
No.
go.
I don't have it.
I make a motion to approve the Virginia School Boards Association Policy Services Agreement for 2024-2025 as written.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Discussion? I would like to say that there are other entities that provide policy services agreements, and that that would be prudent of the school board to look into other options in the future, just as a note looking forward. I want to make that comment.
If I may ask a question about that, I guess I would be interested in learning more about that, to compare and contrast. It's just like, I've heard that, there are other entities and I don't want to dismiss that out of hand. I just need to know how things are written differently, how they're written similarly. So I don't know if that's possible without, having, I just don't know how that's possible. So I would like to learn more about that going down the road.
Totally agree. I think a compare and contrast is the way to go, and I think we should look at that exact thing going forward. Totally agree with you. Any other comments? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Nay?
Nay.
Motion passes 3-2. Item 8.12, approval of VHSL membership for 24-25. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the Virginia High School League membership for 2024-2025 as listed.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? I had a question about this regarding, this is for varsity, so football is not checked.
I actually have that exact same question, so I was getting ready to, so we'll follow up. You can add sports later, so there's not a deadline to then go in and add sports, so it may be that the high school is just making sure before we put the funds forward for VHL membership on that, but we'll follow up, and if we need to come back and add, then we'll add football later.
They had 55 kids tonight. Everybody showed up, so I don't.
I mean,
know
there's a
what
buzz,
happened.
there's excitement. I mean, I'm pretty optimistic. I'm kind of looking for a head nod from the school principal that it's looking pretty good. So I mean, we're pretty optimistic that we'll be able to field a football team this fall, and then kind of grow that next year. So we'll just have to follow up and get that box, see what the status is on getting that box checked.
Right. And another box I'd like to think we're going to check in the future is robotics. I think would that be in our future, Mr. Applegate?
Yeah, it depends on the club, but we participated first, which is not associated with the HSL. It's a totally different animal.
Okay. Well, we'll just keep
Plugging.
And I think to add to that, I would like to see at some point, I'm not sure the difference between film festival and theater festival, but as a fall, they used to call it one-act play. It'd be nice if we could resurrect the drama programs in the high school. We were really, in our time, in that time, it was excellent. And it'd be nice, maybe not this next year, but certainly with 8th graders up there, that would be something that they could certainly engage in.
As a thespian, I completely agree
Oh,
with you.
you're a thespian.
I
All
was in
right.
it when I was
You
there.
were as well.
No, I
Okay,
sure
there we
was.
go. And we need to bring Mr. Priest back to do that.
Yes. So all those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Item 8.13, approval of the 2024-2025 pay schedule. Do we have a motion? Maybe we have a motion.
I'll move that we approve the 2024-2025 pay schedule as listed.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Our last item is 8.14, the approval of payment of monthly claims. We have a motion.
I make a motion to approve the monthly claims as listed.
We have a second.
I
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Mr. Dobson, I believe you checked the bills? Were they in order?
I'm listening.
Mr. Dobson, were the bills in order?
Yes, they were.
Thank you. Thank
Just
you.
to let everybody know, we ended up about $2.2 million to the black, but you ain't paid the rest of the bills for a year.
We'll be finishing those out at the end of your meetings. Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 5-0. And I see we have dates that we are still looking to fill, October 14th and December 16th. Has anybody been able to check?
December.
Mr. Dobson will do December 16th.
Yeah.
What is the October?
October 14th. I'm happy to do it. It's always going to be, it's pretty much always going to be a Monday. Yeah, except on the days.
I'm September, correct?
That's what it says.
Yes, Mr. Morgan, you're September 16th. Ms. Morgan, put me down for October 14th, please. Thank you. We're moving on to item 9, citizens' comments on items discussed during the meeting. Do we have anybody who'd like to approach the podium?
Is it on? No? Am I? Oh, good. Janice Phillips, 250 Harbor Watch, Newport, Virginia. I want to thank you for acknowledging the hard work that went on during the budgeting process. I think we're going to be facing a challenge for the foreseeable future. Schools are the most important thing to this county. I believe they are the economic driver that we all need. I recently attended a training session, and the statement was made that the most profitable thing a county can have, excuse me, is a full of crowded school. I would like to see a lot more seats in our desk, and until we get there, we'll be struggling. So good luck to all of you, I think, and you've done a great job. And I also want to acknowledge the work that our teachers are going to be doing with all the changes that are coming up. A lot of them are going to be pushed out of their comfort zones. A lot of them are going to be pushed in many hard ways, and I want to acknowledge what they're doing, and we should all thank them when we have the opportunity. And also, I attended Field Day here, and what a great day. So thank you all for that. I think you're doing a good job.
Go ahead, Ms. Diggs.
Ms. Phillips, I'd just like to thank you and the rest of the board for you all working so hard to help the teachers and all of the kids here. Thank you.
Good evening, Sharon Fry, Port Hayward, Virginia. I just heard whisperings of y'all saying instead of being a member of the VSB, Virginia School Board Association, that you might look into the School Board Member Alliance Association. I heard more and more counties, schools are going to that one, and it is a wise idea to look and if there's an option. And I also want to thank the school board and the administration for what I consider a great year. What we have seen this school do and how we have progressed is truly amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fry. Is there anyone else who'd like to approach? Okay. School board reports. School board member reports. Does any member have anything to say? Mr. Dobson?
I'd like to put some praise out here. Dr. Daniels, since he's been here, I've found him to be an outstanding person. He jumps at everything that happens. Matter of fact, he could be the captain of the volunteer fire department. He does an amazing job. Right now, we're in the middle of so many items collecting data to try and make our schools better for next year. And I sat on the board that picked him to be the soup, and all 5 members that were on that board picked him. All 5. And believe me, the 5 people that were sitting there pretty much had different ideas on how to do things. But they all came together and picked him. And as far as I'm concerned, what I've seen so far, I was right on my first go around. And I hope he keeps it up. I hope the data we collect here in the near future will help us put together some plans and programs to help our kids. Now, I was at graduation last Saturday, and I was proud to see those 58 young people walk across that stage. I would say 40 of them had 3.5 or above. So we must be doing something right. It just doesn't appear that way. But to get that many kids to walk across stage like they were, I found extraordinary for such a small community. So we do pull together. We can help our children. And children, I didn't learn this way when I was a child. I hated authority. I hated school. I quit school, went in the Army. But I had my high school diploma before the kids I would have graduated with, because I got it in the Army. And schooling is everything. If a young person starts off on the wrong foot, he's in trouble. And you can almost bet he's going to end up at a place that costs more money to keep him than school does. And you spend about $19,000 for kids here, and you go to you go up there to Petersburg prison, it's about $48,000 to keep a person there. And this is what I don't want to see. We need to buckle down and get these kids to where they need to be. And if we do that, we will accomplish the mission that we're supposed to be here on the face of this earth. And so help me, I try and do it every time I walk in here. May not look like it, but I'm for the kids. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Dobson. Ms. Diggs?
When I read the paper this week, I was more than impressed with the number of scholarships that our high school seniors received this year. And a lot of it came from organizations right here in Matthews County. And any of you who sit on boards, as I had the privilege to sit on a couple, these people take it seriously, and the numbers, the figure was high. And I'm very proud of Matthews County and the citizens, and I thank you all.
I'd like to add in about graduation. I was lucky enough to be present. It was the highlight. It was the highlight of the semester to be able to watch that class beam at receiving their diplomas and to be able to ask them to turn their tassels. It was special. I hope I get to do it again, but if I never do, it's a once in a lifetime. It was a thrill, just so inspiring, and that's, I think, why we're all here. We are here for the kids and for achievement of those kids. And thank you to all the teachers who are in the audience and all the admin who's here who makes it happen. Thank you. Any other comments from members? Nothing? Okay. All right. All right. Can we have a motion to move into closed?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to enter into closed meeting in accordance with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Section 2.2-3711, Print A, Print 1, discussion or consideration of personnel matters, professional staff resignation, professional staff appointments, support staff resignation, fall coaching appointments, and fall volunteer coaching appointments, Section 2.2-3711, Print A, Print 2, discussion or consideration of admission or disciplinary matters concerning students, and Section 22.1-60.1, evaluation of superintendent.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion passes. We are in closed session.